Audio on? Hello everyone. I Hardik with my co-host Mrinal. Welcome you all to day 2 of Hacka-demic. We hope that you are going the extra mile to implement your ideas into marvelous and brilliant solutions while at the comfort of your homes. Speaking of comfort, Mrinal, I think I am way too comfortable, due to coziness of my blanket while hacking in this chilly north. What do you think about it?
Yeah, Hardik, the amount of caffeine I'm consuming in these coffee shots, Hacka-demic has really turned into caffeidemic for me.
That's not a short, Mrinal. You should control your coffee habits. You are turning into a cafe file now.
Hardik, you should know that programmers are creatures who turn caffeine into software. Now that we have only half a day left, our participants of Hacka-demic must be under a lot of pressure to complete their hack.
Even I feel stressed in competitions. But thanks to Hacka-demic, I am engaging with so many developers all over India and such a beautiful community on Discord, right?
Yes, when I need a little break nowadays, my first place to reach is the Hen Discord server. I love to listen to music there, participate in quizzes, chill with my Among Us mates, and how can I forget laughing of the memes in Meme Slam?
Mrinal, I see your excitement there, and there is a lot more to offer. So now, without wasting much time of our viewers, many of whom are already busy with their projects, let's start with the first tech talk.
Okay, right. We have two of our alumni with us today who will be giving some thought provoking and intriguing tech talks. Now, to begin with day two, we have with us our first keynote speaker for the day, Mr. Gautam Santosh.
Welcome, sir.
Hey everyone.
Hello everyone, I'm Chandra, co-team member at Hack in the North. I would like to welcome our next keynote speaker, Mr. Gautam Santosh. He's currently working as a machine learning engineer at JustWatch.com in Berlin, Germany. He has been a software intern at Headout, has done his research internship from University of Messina, Italy. He's the founder of FeatureMonkey.com, which is a unified platform to collect, analyze, and act on customer feedback. He has also co-founded a website Nibbles for students to publish articles. He has also bagged many awards in hackathons like PyCon India Hackathon and Product Hunt and is a versatile technical blogger. We are honored to have the opportunity to have him as one of our keynote speakers in Hacka-demic. Today, Mr. Gautam Santosh is going to talk on the topic Beyond Hackathons, Launching Products After Hackathons. Mr. Gautam, please take over and share your valuable insights with us.
Hello.
Hi, sir.
Hi. I'm gonna share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Hi. So today I'm gonna talk about what do we do beyond hackathons, launching products after hackathons, or how I like to call it, what the fuck do you do now? I've been in Hint for the first 3 years, and when we grew it to like a large stage, and I always wondered like, what do we do now? And there was a large amount of really cool products that was made every year in Hint. And I always saw like a year after it, a big company made something similar and it became like really big. And I wondered like what was missing from the products that were made in somewhere like Hack in the North, and what makes you go to a very bigger scale. And I built some of products like myself. So I'm going to share you what you can do, things you shouldn't do, and how you can make something that you made in this hackathon into something that people use. So what we're going to talk about is basically how do you refine your idea a little bit. I know you guys have like a pretty good idea at the moment, but like how can you make it a bit better? And some of the things that you want to build and some of the things that you don't want to build at this point, and finally about launching your product. And those are the three things I'm going to talk about. So let's first talk about the idea. And the idea part, I guess like a lot of it is already there. And the thing is, a lot of companies have started from hackathons. Hackathons are a great place. Like, in my opinion, it's very hard to come up with an idea and implement it in 36 hours. If you're a company and you take almost a month or like half a month to implement something that you build in a hackathon, even when you are like a junior in college, because like you are surrounded by these like incredibly smart people. And more than that, you just like, you have a problem, you get to talk to people and they come up with ideas. And a lot of these companies are like big billion-dollar companies. Like Zapier is like one of the hugest, like biggest companies there. And this is CryptoKitties, which at the moment is one of the biggest companies that started in the Ethereum blockchain ecosystem, and it started from a hackathon. And I used to work in Headout as an intern, and even they started from a hackathon. They just went to a hackathon, they built something up, and the co-founders met there. And they didn't even know each other, and then they made it into like this huge company. And it's just 3-4 years of time. So the problem that I see is that, like, at the end of a hackathon, you have something that works. I mean, it has problems. I mean, obviously it's a hack, and all of us just quit like 80% there, right? Like, you have something that works, last step, which is actually the easiest part, it takes like 1 day or 2 day to get it done, and you guys just don't do it. Like, why don't you put it out there? I always found it weird, and that's just really really sad about it. Like, the thing is, like, your idea doesn't have to be world changing, right? Sometimes I see in hackathons and people are like, I'm gonna build this thing that's gonna change the whole healthcare ecosystem, or I'm gonna build something that's going to change how the lawyers are there, or like, I'm gonna change everything. It's not gonna happen that way, because it's not as simple. Like, what you want to do is pick a small problem and you want to do it really well. And that's how like all the big companies have started till now. If you look at any of the companies, that's how it is. And like if you are like, if your dad's a billionaire, you can probably do it, you can change everything. But unless that's not there, what you want to do is probably build something small for a small amount of people. Let's do something like a thought experiment. I'm going to show some companies, and it's just an idea, and you get, if you can guess like what company it is. Okay, so it's a guessing game. So this company built personal kit for hackers. Like, they just made a couple of hardware stuff, and you could make your own personal computer with it. You guys know what company it is? If you can, like, write it in YouTube comments. Then another company, like, it's a small agency. What they did was they bought this piece of software called MS-DOS from another company, and they bought that MS-DOS and they sold it to IBM, and then just made sure like they licensed the product. So basically, what they did is like, somebody made a software, they bought that software, and then they sold it to IBM, which was like a big company, and this happened in the 80s. Then this company was an experiment in Stanford. So what they wanted was, they had like every college there was a library, and in the library they wanted to search through the books much faster. And like, guess what company it is? Like, which company was made in Stanford? It was just, they just wanted to find the books faster. And then an app to call a limousine. It's a big car. It's a luxurious car in California. It was just a small place. It was just an app, and you could see numbers of drivers over there. And the app was not for everyone. Even, it was just for the very rich people. And you could call a limo, and it would come pick you up. These companies, like, so if you look at it, the personal DIY with hackers, that's what Apple was, right? The first Apple started off as like that. Like, it was just a simple idea, just executed it well, and they made money. And after they made enough money, they grew to Apple 2, and then they grew from there. It's one of the biggest companies at the moment. And then there is Microsoft, which is a company that sold MS-DOS. MS-DOS is a thing that holds all of the Windows ecosystem, and they didn't even make it. Just bought it from someone, just sold it to a person. So it's amazing. You will be like, what the hell did this guy do? And then this small experiment in the college local internet, it's Google. So the founders of Google, they were just in Stanford. They found out a way to search through the library much faster, and they were like, this is a cool way to search things much faster. They made this algorithm called PageRank, and they didn't even want to start a product or anything like that. They just wanted to sell it, and they asked Yahoo at that time for $1 million, and Yahoo said no. And that is probably Yahoo's biggest mistake ever, because and then like Google became this giant, and they didn't even want to start anything. And then finally this app to call a cab, that was just Uber. Uber didn't have this tracking feature which you like at the moment, this paying feature. No, you just paid the driver. That's how it started. Like every app starts small. And then like what you want to do is like start small, solve a problem for someone, right? That's what you want to do. And if you think at it, like lot of, it's very easy, right? Like if you start small and you solve a small problem for a large amount of people, is one way to make money. Or you solve a small problem for a small set of people. So if you want $1 million, all you need is 1,000 people to pay you $83 a month. That is, you don't need to build something for millions and millions of people. Just 1,000 people, and you're already successful than most companies in Bangalore. Even at least like you're making money. They're all running on VC funds. So some things like I find like quite in the idea way, something that can be harmful is this collaboration factor. Like, so what happens is there is this phenomenon called groupthink. So it's a psychological phenomenon that occurs when a lot of people are there and they just think in irrational way. Just copied it from Wikipedia. So the basic idea is that I have an idea, my friend has an idea, somebody else has an idea. We come together and we're like, bro, let's build this thing. And we sit together, we build this idea. And the thing is, the idea doesn't work, but we are each other pumping each other. I'm like, bro, this is awesome. And the other guy is like, this is awesome. And then you just sit together and like, you are always in your bubble and you don't even show it to others, and it doesn't work out. And this is a very common pattern. Let me tell you, it just happens a lot. A lot of people just sit together, they make something, they don't show it to anyone. It's kind of like really bad, because sometimes like the best thing to do is like whatever the group you have in the hackathon at some moment itself, or like if only a few people want to take the product and make it something, let them do it. That is always the best way. Like you need collaboration, but only after you have reached a certain stage where you can't handle the bandwidth anymore. So most of the time it's always good to like go alone, build something up, and then get more people inside. And sometimes like things can go bad as well. You need to be like in a good relationship with the people for a very long period of time to like it to be good. And also, this is one more thing I've seen, like people are really afraid of sharing their ideas. Like it's weird. Like everyone is like, my idea is so special. There is always a bunch of people like, this idea is amazing and it's gonna change the world. No, it's not gonna change the world. Your idea, I'm gonna tell you, if you go and see in any platform where people launch products, the similar idea comes from different parts of the world at the same time. It's not about the idea. It's 100% not about the idea. It's always about the execution. Your execution is the multiplier to your idea. A good idea is worth maximum, I don't know, 100 rupees. It's the execution that makes 100 rupees into 100 crores or much more than that. That's what you want. You want a really good execution. And the execution stage is what like takes it much further. Now, your idea, there are two ways to solve a problem, right? And so one is to solve your own problem or solve someone else's. Now, I've done both. So solving your problem is like, I have this issue in my life and it's itching for me. Like during exams I use Facebook a lot, so I just made a blocker to make sure I don't use Facebook, and that's it. Like, but the thing is, like, it's not a big idea, it's not a life changing idea, but it's something that solves your problem. And the best thing about these kind of ideas is that you have someone who is using it, and that's awesome. Like, if you make something and someone is missing in it, then you will be using it, and that's really good. Like, if you make something that you will use, it's at least like half better than like half of the products, because most of the biggest problem that people face, it's not the building part, it's more like how do you get the users into it. And the another way to do is to build up to solve a problem for someone else. Now, to solve a problem for someone else is really difficult, because you need to know about them and you need to talk to them. I've seen like people making apps for doctors and all, and never even talk to a doctor. And I was like, how do you know doctor needs this thing? They're like, it's a cancer treatment app. I'm like, you just download a machine learning model from internet and you're just putting it somewhere. That doesn't mean anything. It's just a vague example, but what people want is something they use, right? Like, you want to see, talk to a doctor, what is he finding it difficult to do? Or like a lawyer, they don't want to like move and migrate their whole thing into the your app. It's very hard to do that, right? For example, like when like and also like there is this factor that you want to build something for a very small use case. You don't want to build something for a very large use case. In the beginning, like this platform which I'm using, like Google Meet, was part of Google Plus. Google Plus was this monolith Facebook clone that had video chat, text chat, and like hundreds of thousands of features that nobody even remembers. And the thing is, like, if you look at it right now, they just took out that video chat part out and made it a separate product. And it's awesome. It's much better than ever Google Plus was, right? Everyone is using it. Sometimes what you want to do is like press a button, go into a video call. You don't want to make an account, you don't want to like make like hundreds of things and all these like weird stuff. You just want to do it like really, really fast. And sometimes that's it. So, and this is my final point, that about your idea. You need to talk to the users. Who is going to use that thing? You need to talk to them. You don't want to talk to them like, oh, will this be a cool idea? You don't want to do that also, because people don't know, right? It's like, oh, you have an idea, and nobody will say your idea is bad because it's rude. It can be a good idea, it can be a bad idea. It's always based on the execution. It can be like that the way like you implement it, that makes the thing, right? Like the doctor app which I said about the cancer thing, instead of doing it from the cancer angle, you could just make a small prescription app for the doctor or something, and they might be using, or a video call for a doctor. Like, a doctor is wants to take patients and it's COVID, and they just want to make a video call app, so they don't want to like ask money from Paytm or something. So you could like make an app and people will pay money and they'll come to the video call, and then it will go away. And it's a simple app, but then like you could get a lot of doctors into it. And when you have that, what you would do is like you talk to doctors more, and then some guy will ask, maybe I want prescriptions, so you will add the prescription feature. So like, and then he will pay for it. Like, that's the most important thing. Like, if someone is suggesting you something and they're not going to pay for it, you shouldn't probably do it, because it's just an idea. If someone really wants it, they'll probably pay for it. So that's one of the core things that you want. You want to talk to the users who will use your app. That's the most important thing that is there. And you show them the things that you want to build, and then get feedback if it makes sense. Now, let's talk about building. So this is something that I face a lot. Like, we have a big problem. We are all developers, and the thing is, we can code almost anything. There is nothing impossible, right? Like, we can make an app, we can make complex machine learning models, we can make a blockchain app, we can do anything. Like, given time, we can do anything, right? It's not a big issue. You can use anything, like whatever way of programming it is, You can read from bunch of blogs, watch YouTube videos. You can figure it out. There is nothing magical about the way of programming, right? There is just few things you need to understand basic, and then everything else is just you just look at it, you can read it, and you can figure it out. But then we have the state like let's say like we build something and nobody's using it, and then what we do is like we think, oh, what we want to do is add more features into it. The person might not be using this because we don't have this, or maybe like, oh, this person wants this thing so badly and that's why they don't come to it. And I feel like that's a bad mentality to go into, because you will just make a bunch more features and still like nobody's going to use it, right? Like nobody will come to your thing for just one particular thing. And the biggest problem for us is probably sales and marketing, and that's hard because none of us knows how to do. I'm like struggling with it. That's the hardest part for us, to get people to use the thing and to get people to pay for the thing. And paying is kind of important, because if they don't pay, they don't probably value it that much, unless you are like Google, how they made photos, like make it free for 10 years and then suddenly charge people. Don't have that much money. So I would say stop coding. Like when you are like done with this hackathon, whatever you have there, don't ship more features. Just stop it. Like, you have a nicely made something, and then what you want to do is like just want to set a deadline. You want to set a deadline, right? Like 2 weeks from now, and by 2 weeks, or I don't know, next weekend, I'll finish this thing. I'll make it shippable. I'll do whatever it means. Like if it's open source software, I'll write the documentation. I'll make a logo. I don't know. I'll make a website. I'll put it somewhere. Whatever that means, put a deadline for it. If you don't put a deadline, you're not gonna probably do it. And then make it look good. And making it look good can be a bit on the flip side, because making it look good, I don't mean like it should look fancy or something, right? If you're making a product for developers, making it good means the documentation should be really good. Like for example, Stripe in the beginning, they're a tool for taking payment for developers. So they made sure like everybody found what they want within like a certain period. They made the search really good. They made the finding of things much better. So it's like the good part is like what you want to show to the people and who are going to use your thing, you want to make it good in that direction. Like if it's a website, make it really good. And the truth is like people do judge a book by its cover. Like if you're making a website for normal people and the footer is on top of the header, they'll be like, this thing can't even do that, why will I even try it, right? It doesn't take much time to just copy paste something from somewhere in the internet and then just like make it nice. You don't need to be a fancy designer to do it. You can just read some articles, like ask anyone. It will be like pretty simple. There is YouTube. And fix almost all the bugs. Like you want to fix all the bugs. Like whatever you have at the moment, make sure everything works. Like you sometimes make there, I mean, there is no software without bugs. There is always bugs here and there, and you want to make sure there isn't much there. Like the sometimes like I won hackathons, and the biggest issue is that we made this like humongous platform, but I don't think it was ever shippable because there are so hard bugs that couldn't like fix it took 2 days to build it. To fix the bugs, it took like weeks, and I was like done with it. And so like you want to like fix the bugs. People don't have like very low tolerance to a new thing, and they have even low tolerance if they see a bug. Like I'll show you something. Like, so this guy is like a founder of a company. I tweeted him like a product I was making at that time, and then he checked it out, failed. And that was pretty bad, because here the bug was something I didn't even expect. Like it was basically like from Google, I was taking the images and I was storing it as in like one of the text fields, and his image had a longer string. It was like 1,000 characters long, and I didn't even expect it. And it was kind of weird, and it was just like, I was just in this early stage, and it was quite bad. Like it was like really bad feeling that day. So what you want to do is that Imagine you're a new user, go into incognito, try the onboarding flow, try 10 different times, ask your friends, and just check it out and see how it is going. If there is any issue in the onboarding flow, make sure it's gone, because any issues in the onboarding flow, people will just like leave your app. So some of the things that you want to build in your product if you're launching it is, for example, like an email box, like a way to collect emails from people who might be interested in your product. Like you this doesn't even take time to do. Like you can just go to MailChimp and you can just make a free account and then put like a give your email if you want to get updates. And the good thing about this is when people, like after you launch your product and you post it online, you will have a hike of traffic. Like you will get a large amount of people, but 3 days later there'll be nobody. It will be like a cemetery, almost nobody's there. And at that time, what you want to do is you want to re-engage with some of those people, and those people are like interested in your thing, but they don't think you're there yet because you have some bugs or some issues or something like that. And this is a good way to like reach out to people. This is one of the things like product, and they did really well in the early stage to for them to grow into a large stage. You want to do is like you want to set up analytics. So this is Google Analytics, the one at the top. So it just lets you see how many people are using your app at a time and things like that. There are various alternative to it. Just telling you can use anything. There is simple analytics. You want to know analytics because you want to see the behavior of the user, like how they are coming into your website and how they are acting into the website. So like many ways like you can get people is through Google search. That's the best way to get people. And it's SEO, like, but you want to see like where you want to improve, and also analytics is pretty good for that. Then another tool that is like really useful is Mixpanel. Mixpanel lets you see, it's a bigger analytics platform, so you can see like you can put checkpoints. Okay, how many people signed up? How many people went to the first page? How many people went to the second page? And then you can see, oh, in the second page, a lot of people are like losing. Then you can just go and check why are people like a lot of people like stop using my app after the second page. And then you can find this like weird thing where it doesn't support, I don't know, iPhone, maybe Safari or something like that. So you can take a look at those things by using something like Mixpanel. And then there is Hotjar or Full Story. I'm not sure how much ethical it is. So what they do is basically whatever a person is doing in their app, you can live stream it and see what people did in your website. Like, if they click the button, you can see like, oh, they clicked the button and all. The ethics of this app is a bit weird, but in the early stage, it can be really good, right? Like you can see, oh, like you have a, if you have like a feature and people are finding it very difficult to like click on it or find where it is, then Full Story can like really help you out. Now, final thing is like you want to capture feedback. You want to get feedback from the people who are using your app, and this is something like I thought personally was like kind of interesting. So I made a platform for that called Feature Monkey, which is like people will like give feedback and they'll vote on each other's feedback. But the important thing is like getting feedback is really important, as you want to build things which paying customers are willing to pay for. Not saying that build what people are telling you to build, but mostly like use it like you have some ideas already, but you don't want to go and code anything until enough amount of people are like, this is pretty cool. And that too, like people who are using your application. So that's what feedback can help you. Feedback can help you see bugs easily and all those like really, it's really important that you put a feedback capturing platform in your thing. If you want, you can use Feature Monkey. I'll give it for free if you just talk to me. Or like there are like so many things. You can even code yourself like a small capture feedback button and a box. It's pretty simple, but do something to get the feedback. Launching. So what does launch mean? So the bit of a vague term. And it's basically, it means like show your product to the world and make sure people are using it and maybe pay for it. And what does that mean, right? It's a launching if you post on Facebook group. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's what it is. Like when you are done making it and you show it to public, that's what launching is. And you do multiple platforms at the same time, so that you get like a lot of feedback in a day. That's pretty much it. And that's how like most of the people grew. The problem is launching is that like over the event of many hackathons I've heard, seen like people make like really wonderful ideas, and I talk to them like, I really want to use your thing, when I gonna put it out, and they're like, I'm gonna do this right after my brother's marriage. And the other guy would be like, I'll do it after my exam, which is going on right now. And then another guy would be like, I have an exam in a month and I'll do after that. There are like always all these reasons. If you're saying that, probably you're not going to build anything. You're not going to launch it. It's just going to be a GitHub repo. I mean, at least it's out there. Like that's one of the reasons why, like in Hind, we made people put source code on GitHub, because at least it will be useful for someone in the future. But that's it. Like if you are like going to launch, you want to do it fast. If it's like a working thing, even if like some of the parts are not there, you want to launch, you want to put it out there. And why do you want to launch, right? Firstly, you want to get some users. Getting a bunch of users is much more rewarding than winning a hackathon. I mean, I won a lot of hackathons, and it feels 100 times better if you get payment for your product that you build. It's a different league. Like it's much nicer. And I mean, it's much nicer than working in a company also. Like working in a company, working for someone else, right? And then another thing is fixing bugs, right? Like you will not see some of the bugs because it will be in some weird flows and all. So you want to fix the bugs, and it can be UI, it can be backend, anything. And then you want to build new features, like building a feature that can potentially make you reach this giant area that you, or the vision that you want it to be. Launches can also get you press. You can get articles written about you, and you just need to do it the right way and launch as fast as possible. I would say like if it's like ready, make a landing page. Like don't make slides for the press for the hackathon. Just make a decent landing page, and after the hackathon is over, just fix the English and like put it somewhere. And that's the best way to like think, like way to make sure your idea is credible. And it doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to look great also. Like take an example of this one. Go to Google and search first landing page of, and then fill the blank with a company name. This is Slack. Was a single page. You couldn't even scroll. You could add just an email. You couldn't sign up from the platform. Couldn't do anything. It looks pretty decent. And this is Stripe. And look at Stripe. Like it's barely nothing is there. Like you can try it now. That's it. There is like it's a weird website, and both of them are over $20 billion now, or under 10 years or something. And that's it. Like you just want to put it out there and see what people are reacting to it. And some of the ways you could launch, and one of them is Product Hunt. I really like Product Hunt because all over the world people are making products every day, and just put it somewhere. And Product Hunt is where like people put it there, and you can figure out, right? Like people post products and people vote on it. That's what Product Hunt is. To launch in Product Hunt, you need to figure out some things like the logo. If it's like a GIF, you get like more votes. Like it should be like very readable, and like should be like a bit nicer, and people should be curious enough to like click this place and like see the product. I mean, like there is a way to launch in Product Hunt, and it is not that hard to figure out. You just Google how to launch on Product Hunt and you will get it. The first product I launched on product, and I just posted one day and I slept. And the next day, my friend told me, "You are featured on product," and I'm like, I was on the top three or something. And then I was like, wow. And I got like a bunch of users, like, I got like a couple thousand users that day. And it was like quite good and rewarding because I didn't have to do much, just happened randomly. And that's what you want, right? You want, it's a good platform, and if you put it out there, there is potential of like people coming. And make sure you don't post like wrong English. Like, no, people, like I said, like people have low tolerance. If it's like bad, they won't even feature you. Like there is this front page, you will just go in the other if you don't have this properly written things. And it takes like half an hour to write it up, but do put the effort and just put it over there, and it's definitely worth it. Then another place is Hacker News. It's a website by Y Combinator, and it's just this, what else can I say? It's disgusting looking website which has the best content, one of the best content in all of internet. If you're a programmer, I definitely recommend. Don't take anything else from this. Even if you don't want to build products, read Hacker News once a day. It's gonna make you smart. If you read it for a month, you'll be like much smarter than your peers. And so there is something called show HN. So you write show HN and then you write the name of the thing and then you put a link. You launch on Hacker News. And if you look at Hacker News, if you look at the things that get the highest points, you will know it's not a marketing word. If you write it in a marketing sounding way, right? Like this cool tool will change your life or something like that. Nobody's going to click on it. What you want to do is write to the point, and that's it. Make a comic book layout in a browser. That's what it is. That's what it does. That's it. Don't make it complicated. It's make sure it does what it is, and you can be on front page of Hacker News. And like if you become front page on Hacker News, let me tell you how big Hacker News can be. Comments in Hacker News. My friend has gotten more users for his platform via a comment in Hacker News than when he posted on production, because Hacker News getting on the front page is really difficult because it's highly competitive. But if you get on the front page on become on top, you will get at least 10 lakh, sorry, not 10 lakh, 10,000 to 1 lakh users in a day, and your site will probably crash because it's that much traffic coming. It's really cool site, and say that you should launch over there. And then at the end of the day, you should post wherever your users are. Like if you're making a app for farmers, post it on farmers WhatsApp groups. That's what launching is. Put it on different groups. Talk to people who are like famous. Like there are many ways, right? There are subreddits. Reddit is a great place to post. It's just like Hacker News. If it blows up, that's it. You don't need anything else to survive. Like you don't need external funding. You don't need anything. You have a lot of users who are paying for you. You have like monthly growth, like really well. Subreddits are there. WhatsApp groups are there. Slack channels are there. Like just go to search anything Slack channel, like whatever. If your target is like something, so go to the Slack channel and just post, right? Like right now, Hint Discord channel is there. Like after a month, if you made something, just post it on the Hint Discord channel. Those who are there will see it. If the target group is these people, you want to show it to people who are like interested in it. Twitter works a bit. LinkedIn also works. I mean, what will work for your product, nobody can tell. And that's the thing, right? You need to try a lot, and you need to post and do it systematically, and you need to do it like regularly. And one person can just do this, and it is equivalent to coding, I would say, because that is also like a full-time effort. And some things that you shouldn't do is asking people to like or vote on like your products or something like that, or buying fake likes or followers or visits to your traffic for your website. Some people do that, and don't do that. That is just like you're telling yourself a lie, right? If you build something and nobody's using it, you should move on and try the next idea. Don't waste your life like faking it. Just, it will happen if it's good. That's what happened, right? Like Mark Zuckerberg made for his college and it just grew up. So what it is like, if you made something good, people will use it and then it will grow. You don't have to like put much of these things into it. And one other way, like you can get a lot of people interested in your product is to create content. I'm a big fan of this. You can write blogs about your story, you can write blogs about technical stuff that you faced. It's good in many ways, not just in like launching products, but also in the way that you can do many cool things to it. You can make a lot of people interested in your content. People will get to know you because of your content, and sometimes helps in a lot of factors. And even if your product doesn't work, like something exists, because they I mean, you shut down AWS, but don't delete your blog articles. And then what you can do is like you can try to get press, tech crunch, all those things. And it's a bit hard to get press nowadays, but it's also becoming more and more worthless at the same time, because platforms like Product Hunt or Hacker News, like you get like much more traction nowadays due to that, and people are not going too much into this nowadays. It's mostly because of this clickbaity title way that they have forced themselves into it. It's just this wonderful loophole of self whatever. And so to get press, one of the best ways is to get some controversy. Like you can take an app and like you can put some controversy into it, and press likes to write about controversy. So if you go in that angle, it can really help. And it can help even in like any of the like product and launches also. Like if you have a controversial thing, it would be nice. I remember one of my friend, he just made something random and he put, it was some NLP API, it just says if it's bad, sentiment is negative or not, and just put Donald Trump's picture as the main logo and all, and just because of that, it got like really famous. So controversy helps. And final thing is, you need to launch multiple times. So let's say you launch it now. It's not the day that you finally finish it. It's not the end of the race. The hackathon is where you started the race. Your first launch is where you reached a bit, and you have to launch every time you release a feature. So you can do it many ways. I do by posting on Twitter, but whatever way that works for you, you should do it. Like launch it every time. Like even in product, and after 6 months you can launch again. So don't be like, I'll make it after 6 months. Just launch now with whatever you have, put it out there, and then after 6 months, just see it again and try it again. And if it works, it works. People don't have that much memory. Like you're just a person in 7 billion people. Like nobody remembers anything. It just gotta forget about you. So just keep on posting and keep on like building a lot of things, and try to put a payment somewhere. Like at least try to put like a payment integration somewhere, or else like you won't know like if people are like really serious about using it. And that's the main thing. Like at the end of this, what you want to do is, when you have launched, you want to talk to users, but you want to talk to paid users, people who pay for your product. And it's much nicer to work at your own company than working at someone else's company. And if you can make both at the same time, then that's the main reason why some people do it. Or it's just a cool thing and you want it out there. So talking to paid users helps. It can be paid in many way also, right? Like it can be you may making a good open source tool. You can, if it's like a really decent enough tool, then you can put open collective or GitHub sponsors under it, and a lot of people are living off it. Like a couple of my friends, they have like really good decent open source software and they work on it all the time and they really love it. And you do like that, or you can set up a payment method. You can use Stripe, Payoneer, Stripe, Payoneer,
I would like to announce due to Wi Fi and network issues, Gautam sir is not able to be with us right now. Thank you for the wonderful talk, sir. It was quite an insight, and I'm very sure that the participants are quite motivated to finish their hack with the best efforts. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Gautam, for the enlightening talk. I'm sure that our hackers will be taking away much knowledge and clarity on how to move on with their ideas in the future. Moving on to our next speaker for today, we have with us Mr. Anupam Dagar.
Hello everyone, I am Garvit Chittola, core team member at Hack in the North. Welcome you all to our last keynote by Mr. Anupam Dagar. Hello and welcome sir. Thank you for joining us today. I would like to start by giving a short introduction about Mr. Anupam. He is a full stack developer and an active open source contributor and has contributed to many organizations like Zulip, FOSS Asia, Public Lab, and Elastic. He is presently working as a software engineer at Deutsche Telekom Digital Labs. He was a research assistant at NTU Singapore and a former GitHub campus expert. He has worked at Hasura and Nucleus Software as a software development intern and at FOSS Asia as an open source developer. He has participated and delivered and numerous talks in San Francisco, Berlin, and Singapore. We are honored to have the opportunity to have him as one of our keynote speaker in Hacka-demic. Thank you, sir. Today, Mr. Anupam Dagar going to talk about a very interesting topic, getting reactive with reactive programming. Mr. Anupam, please take over.
Yeah, thanks, Garvis, for the introduction. Let me just share the screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, so hi everyone. Today we'll be talking about reactive programming, which is something I started learning few months back. And I just want to give a basic idea of what it actually is. So maybe whenever you start learning it in future, you already have a head start with it. Um, so let's start moving. Yeah, getting that to the reactive program. So the team has already given a nice introduction. I'll just quickly go over it. So I'm an undergraduate from IIIT Allahabad and currently working as a software engineer at Deutsche Telekom Digital Labs. I have been an intern at NTU Singapore, Asura, FOSS Asia, and Nucleus Software. And I'm currently a GitHub Campus Expert alumni. Also, I've been a core team member at Hack in the North 2 years back. So yeah, this talk is not about React.js. So it's a very common thing whenever the term React comes up in the development side, the first thing which anyone remembers is that it's going to be about React.js. So this talk is nowhere related with React.js, React Native, or anywhere related with the React framework. So what actually then is reactive programming? It's a programming paradigm. Okay, so as you might have, many of you know about a programming paradigm is something which describes how code should be written, the vocabulary must be used, the methodologies which we are going to use. So basically, it describes how the code should be written in a specific way. And most of you must know, be knowing at least one of it. To tell about it, we have two main paradigms, which is imperative programming and the functional programming. So imperative programming is the one which at least anyone familiar with coding knows. That's where everyone starts. So if you have been writing code in C, you know imperative programming. And functional programming is something which is not known by many of the people. It's quite different from what imperative is, but it's also quite interesting. Okay, so uh, coming to a comparison between imperative and functional programming before we get into reactive one. So if you go over to the imperative one, it's more of thinking line by line, what should happen at each line of code. And if you take a look at the overall program you have written by then, it's more of like you have a defined set of instructions to do something. It's more of like you have a recipe, you blindly follow the steps, and you will reach to a result. And the benefit of imperative programming is that it's easier to learn. It doesn't take much effort. It's directly go to language, and maybe it's easier to imagine as well. Like you say, okay, uh, 1 plus 2 is going to be 3, and that will actually change it to that one. Okay, so the following if block is a very basic code block, which is quite frequently used. It says basically if number modulus 2, then do something. That is checking if my number is actually even number, then do something. Okay. Uh, Coming to functional programming, it's actually completely changed in terms of like how you think about writing the code. It's not going over what should happen when I write this line of code, but it's more of thinking in a way like, okay, what my following function is going to achieve when I'm writing this down. Instead of the statements, you have expressions mainly, and the complete function is thought of as a program. Then it mainly describes the end goal which you are trying to achieve. But the issue is it has a difficult learning curve. Not everyone goes into being a functional programmer. And to be accurate, the language which are like pure functional programming are like Haskell, which not much developers do. And one of the parameters which comes is it's stateless. So I won't go much deeper into what actually stateless and being in state means, because that will completely convert this talk into a lecture. But on a broader level, I will just say like when the function you write in a functional programming, it shouldn't know what is happening inside outside its block. Okay, so uh, and here is example of a function which checks if a number is even or not. Okay, so it is actually receiving a argument which is number, and it just gives you an answer if it's an even number or not. It doesn't know what it doesn't need to know like I need to change the number or not, but it has been provided that number and it will change. So enough of the imperative and functional. Let's go into the reactive programming. So there are three main components to reactive programming. The first one is the data streams, but that basically means it's a continuous flow of data. The second is the functional programming, which we just discussed now. The third one is the asynchronous observers. Now it has two terms, asynchronous and observers. So asynchronous is mainly a task which we uh, don't wait for it to complete. We just run it and let it execute and complete whenever it happens. And for the observers, they are something which actually connect with the data streams which are emitting the data. So asynchronous observers basically means observing the data sources subject which notify the observers. So the subject and observers are highlighted here, which are two of the main components of the reactive programming, which I'm going to discuss just next. Okay, so combining these three parameters, we get a single line definition of what a reactive programming is. Reactive programming is used to manipulate data streams using functions in an asynchronous manner. That's what it actually is. Let's have a brief understanding of like what it actually is. So this is a line. Let's consider it as a timeline of my program and basically the life cycle. Now, at different points of time, I have my data coming in my program. Now, this data can come at any point of time, regardless of any uh, dependencies. It can come at completely irregular intervals of time. That can come basically anytime. Now, we have to modify this data according to our needs. In our case, if we are checking if the number which we have received from the data source is even or not via the filter function. When we completely filter this function, we get another data stream which actually has the required data which we need. In our case, we passed all the data points which were given by the data source, and the ones which actually qualified the criteria, we have them now. Now, if you look over this, this is what we just discussed right now. We have a data stream and we manipulated it with our function in an asynchronous manner. Asynchronous you cannot see as of now because that's something which we use in code, but that's what just happened right now. Okay. And in a typical scenario, this data source is actually from the backend or hosted at the cloud. And this transformation is actually happening on the client side, which is the front end, which is being shown to the user. Now, it's not necessary that the stream has to exist in such a way. This data source can be completely at the client side and it can be completely at the backend side. So there's no uh, condition like that these streams should exist like this. Now, okay, coming next, the data source which we had at the backend is actually the subject. We call this a subject as in a terminology. It's basically emitting the data. It's providing us with the data which we need. So anything which provides us with the data, we call it that as subject. And the one where we actually consumed it to our needs is called an observer. It subscribes to data emitted by the subject. And by subscribes, we actually mean we are finally using the data in our needs on the app side. And the beauty of this thing is a single subject is not limited to single observer. It's not a one-to-one mapping. We can have multiple observers connected with the single subject and like in any way. And we can manipulate not only just by filter function. It's like you can use any function of your needs, but these are like some of the common ones, like use counting, you filter them, you have mapping them, so you can change the data according to your needs. And the most important one as well, like debounce. Like if you are implementing a search functionality, you debounce the calls when the user types in. Then it's not all like we can have only one subject with one observer at a time. We can also chain them up together to reach our desired result. So the single subject is now uh, providing us with the data, which is now going to the map function. Now, what this map function is doing is just doubling the data which we are receiving as of now. And this provides us with a data stream which we pass again to the filter function to get all the numbers which are less than 10. So in this way, we have actually chained these observers together. So end result is going to look something like this. You map them up and you filter them out. So the final data stream is with the number 4, 8, and 2, which are going to use them. Now, the main thing is these numbers as of now is just numbers. But in a real scenario, it's not something like that. You have a big class and objects being made out of it and the complete big structure. Doesn't matter what sort of data you have. It can be a class or like single variable, string, and your custom object. Any data works fine in this scenario, but the numbers just make it easier to understand. Now, some few points about this reactive programming. It's not a programming language. It's a method of writing code, or like basically defines how you are going to write your code in the in your app or like website. Reactive has libraries created for most of the languages. So the logo which you see right here is by of the ReactiveX. So RX Java, RxJS, RX Swift, and like just uh, concatenate your language name with the RX, and the library will be there. And as of now, I have seen the wide use case in the Android development, but it's not limited to that. Since like if it's RxJS is there, you can use in your React projects as well. Now let's go to a code example to get an idea of what I'm actually saying as of now. So I here have one imperative code, and on the right hand side, reactive code. So in the imperative one, you have one. So this code is actually written in Kotlin for both of them. So it's in quite understandable way. That's not the syntax is not an issue. So you have a list of integers in the imperative one, first one, and you are getting all the numbers from the source, and you're just printing them in a loop. So what is actually happening is you get all the numbers together, then start printing them one by one. But let's look at the reactive approach. Instead of getting all the numbers together, you subscribe to the data stream of that. And whenever that data stream is pushing the numbers, you're printing them at that time itself. So you don't need to get all the data at once and then loop one by one on the numbers. But instead, as soon as you get the number, you can operate on that. And one more thing is there, you can see this another block, which is this error block. So if at any point of time there is some error, doesn't matter what kind of it is, you can directly handle it over here. Which for that you need to in the imperative when you put up a try catch block, but here it's like two blocks directly which you can do. Now let's take up a bigger scenario. Let's take it up as a chat screen. So let's consider a chat room where you are sending messages and bunch of other people who can randomly connect in and start sending the messages. So I have only written the reactive code because if I have written the Java one, it would have taken alone like 2-3 slides itself. So better to just focus on what we are doing as of now. So to understand the scenario, there will be one probably function send message which executes when you send the message, and there will be one function which you will execute to show the UI the message received by other people in the chat room. To do that, what we are actually doing is we have created a subject, which actually our data stream on the client side. Okay, and let's take a look at the send message. Whenever we are sending the message, we just put that message object on our chat subject data stream. And similarly, you must be having some sort of API to receive those chat room messages from other users. You subscribe to that data stream, and whenever the message comes on, that message you push on to your local chat subject data stream. So as of now, we have the messages, all the messages coming on our local chat subject data stream. So how will you show it on the UI? You just need to do one thing. You start observing on your chat subject data stream locally, and whenever some data comes on that stream, you can just update your UI. That's pretty much it. But like let's take a case of like Java scenario. You must be having to like write multiple callbacks which runs depending on the scenario which is there, and handle them separately. So this just makes your code a little more concise and more of it working just on my own. Like if you want to know like where you have some bug in updating the UI, you know that the messages are getting only updated here and no other point of code is actually being executed. So it also makes your debugging easier. Now, what actually is next for this reactive programming part? So what we actually covered till now in the examples and the basic theoretical part is just a very top level description of what reactive programming is. because diving more deeper than that just becomes more technical and more difficulties in it. To give an idea, I had used in the code observe on and subscribe on these functions as well, which I haven't described yet. So subscribe on, if we have to like execute API requests or like heavy operations like database queries on a background thread, because if you do that on a main thread, you will eventually hang up your UI and the user will get frustrated why the app is so slow. And in turn, your app just is not a usable, it is in a usable state. So subscribe on just basically tells, okay, run this piece of code on my this thread, which you specify. So in that case, like you have multiple like input, output, and like a background thread you can choose of that thread. Similarly, is for the observe one. So when you actually end up using the code that is updating the UI, if you want to run that on a background thread as well, you can do. But updating the UI generally happens on a main thread. That's why if the observe one was on main thread. So what other stuff which is to be explored in reactive programming here? So as of now, we just talked in terms of subjects, observables on a very broad level. But if you have noticed, I used published subject in the last code which I showed. So that is one type of subject we use. So there is another as behavior subject, and there is a difference in working of both of them. So just to give a brief idea, published subject will only provide you with the latest data whenever you subscribe to it, but behavior doesn't do that. Similarly goes for the observables. You have singles, completables, flowable, etc. and etc. Now we just took up a one stream and put up a one function there and like just discussed it how it works. So this is another example of like window function combilators, where you are actually, in this case we have some two streams combining this red cloud into a red cloud. So whatever that is, so that's from the reactivex directly. So here in the window itself, if you want separate streams of a separate sizes, it's using that. So there are a lot of functions provided in the reactivex which you can use to work on multiple streams together. So it makes actually complex operations very much easy. And if you have to do that in a normal manner, it will go on to creating a very big code. Now, if till that point, if you're sitting like this in front of your screen, it's fine. I don't expect anyone to completely become a master in reactive programming just within 15 to 20 minutes. It takes initially a good time, but once you understand it, it's quite easier. The main motive here was to actually get introduced to something new so that it builds up a new interest, and you will have a, for sure a head start when you start learning it. So that's pretty much it on my side from the talk. Thanks for the Jordan Joswiak for his talk on the reactive programming, because that's what where I started. And if you have any questions or want to reach out to me, you can just visit anupamdagar.com. It has all the links to my profiles.
Thank you so much for the talk, Mr. Anupam, and for sharing your valuable experience with all of us. I am very certain that all the hackers participating in Hacka-demic were inspired by this wonderful session. Now I have few questions that I want to ask to you. First,
Yeah.
most important question of all, spaces.
Uh, can you repeat the question? I wasn't able to hear you.
Uh, we will start with the most important question of all, tabs
Yeah.
or spaces.
Okay. So I have been using tabs most of the times. It's not about I have been using spaces, and the reason mainly is have it has become a muscle memory for my little finger to press the tab itself. So I used to code in Python a lot, and it has to use four spaces. So at that time I started with the tabs, and it just got a muscle memory, and since then I haven't changed.
Thank you. When and how did you start your tech journey? What topic did you start with and how did you progress?
Okay, so in 2016, when I started my first year at Triple IT Allahabad, in the month of December 2016, I learned CSS. So I have been always interested in doing the web development stuff. So HTML I know from the school time, but CSS I didn't know anything. So I started with CSS, and then second semester there was this event called Open Code where I started contributing and got to learn more. And it was actually contributing to open source projects there, which the seniors created for us. And from that time, there's no stopping back.
Yeah, that was very motivational. I also came to know that you were amongst the few GitHub campus expert from India. Tell us something about that, your journey as a GitHub campus expert, and how can we apply in it?
Okay, so this one is quite interesting. So I am the third one from the college and the 13th at my time from the Indian. So I'm the 13th Indian campus expert. Uh, so it's mainly a leadership program where you actually lead your on-campus community, and I just become it at the right time when I became the overall coordinator of the tech society of the college. So combining these two actually gave me a lot of experience. So GitHub support actually enables you to host great events. Then you meet lot of like-minded people who has same experience in this one and have been hosting events. You talk to them, you share your knowledge, so you just get to know a lot of things which you don't get to know over like internet or like in the college stuff. GitHub provided me a chance to visit in Berlin for the satellite talk, and that's when I was actually able to meet campus experts from other countries. So when you talk with them, you get to know how stuff works on their side and their institutes, and what things which is of more priority for them is actually not priority for us while we are hosting events. And they actually provided us with this platform to actually improve ourselves in like speaking or mentoring students. I've been able to mentor many participants in different hackathons due to GitHub's mentorship program. They sent us to mentor participants. So coming to the point of applying to it, so as far as I know, they open the applications once every semester, but I'm not completely sure of that. So you apply over to their website, and then they enter you to the training. Now once you enter into the training, it's they have modules defined. So it has changed a lot since my time, but it mainly focuses around your community building stuff. So if you are when you complete this training, they constantly review your modules, and if it's up to the mark or not. This process takes time. They review, then finally review your application. And once you complete the training, you receive a call from them, and you finally become a GitHub campus expert and join the Slack where other experts are, and finally able to share knowledge with others.
Wow, that was great to hear from you, Mr. Anupam. I'd also read your satellite GitHub blog also,
Thanks.
talks and broadcasts. In one of them that you gave to Joe Kuttner about the GitHub Student Development Pack, where you told about free domains that we get from this pack, and you also talked about Hawksnox, your first project, I
Hmm.
guess.
So
So, so tell us about something about Hawksnox and what was you thinking about its future?
okay, so I never thought like Hawks Knox will become one of my big projects because it was just a project which was learned by me to learn a backend framework. And as of now, it has good amount of users. The login is broken. There are issues raised like please fix this login, and I'm not getting the time to actually fix that. So there was no as such directly motivation to make it, but the only motivation was to learn a backend framework. And the name which came, the Hawks Knox, was just because I got a free coupon to get a domain name in first year, and I was like, okay, there is only 12 hours to redeem this coupon. What should I take it? I just had this name pop up in my mind and took this up. and planned, okay, whenever I made my first project, I'll name it this. So that's where this name came up from. And about the project itself, it was made because I wanted to learn a backend framework, which was using the Django Hawksnock. And coming to its future, yes, I had some plans with it, but I'm not sure when I am going to work on it to make it a better one. But as of now, I don't think it's coming anytime soon.
That was great. Now, the most awaited question for any developer: what's your go to song or your favorite genre, as most as the efficiency is proportional to the kind of music you are hearing?
Okay, so I generally tend to listen to less lyrical or maybe non-lyrical songs when I'm doing like programming stuff, and that actually leads to EDM songs. So Martin Garrix and stuff with high beats coming in, sometimes Skrillex. So those beats actually start pumping you up, so you can write your code and like in a adrenaline rush. Okay, you get that adrenaline rush using listening to those beats. But yeah, my EDM is the genre which I mainly listen to while I'm programming, and most of them stay non-lyrical.
Yeah, thanks. And the last question for all the college students: how did you manage your time doing things simultaneously, like you were the campus expert of GitHub, Geek Heaven overall coordinator, Hint core team member, and many more things?
For the time, I don't know, it just happened automatically. So, but it's the one thing is there, like there are only 24 hours you get in a day, and with all the academics and stuff going on, you have to cut down on some things for your time. So maybe sometimes your interests are sacrificed for that and stuff, and that's the only way you can manage your time doing that. But it's not actually, when you get into it, it's not something much difficult. But yes, few of the factors gets impacted, but it's, yeah, temporary. You can definitely get them back.
Thank you, Mr. Anupam, for your time that you took out from your schedule. And thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
Thank you, Mr. Anupam, for taking time out from your schedule and being with us today. With this, we have come to the end of our event. A reminder for the participants: the coding period ends at 10 a.m. sharp on 20th of December, that is tomorrow. It's time to burn the candles at both ends and give your best. Best of luck, and thank you everyone for joining us today.